Hey, before we get into the podcast, I just want to thank this week's sponsor. This week's sponsor is Sock Panda. They are a monthly sock subscription service, and I have personally bought them for members of my family, specifically my daughter. She absolutely loved them. Once a month, she'd be able to go out to the mailbox and get a new pair of socks, and it was always a surprise on like what they were. Sometimes it was like a surfing squirrel, and other times there were aliens. It was just pretty much all sorts of socks for everything you could possibly imagine. And they have men's socks, women's socks, tween socks, kids socks, and you can go on and you can purchase just one set, or you can get a subscription, and it makes for a great gift. And we're heading into the holiday season, and supply chains are an issue, so this is going to be a great gift that gives for the whole year or 6 months or however long you want to sign up for the sock subscription. And even better than that, the Sock Panda team is dedicated to using its socks to make the world a better place. The company donates socks to those in need for every purchase. As of today, the company has donated over 141,000 pairs of socks to homeless shelters, low-income senior centers, hospitals, and underprivileged classrooms throughout the country. You can't go wrong with Sock Panda. They make great stuff, and they do great things. And today, they're giving our listeners a 15% discount. So you can go to sockpanda.com/discounts/Inebri-art15 to get 15% off your order. And we just want to say thank you to them for sponsoring the show. And make sure you go there and get some socks for yourself or for your loved ones this holiday season. Welcome back, Inebri-ites. This is Andy, the Inebri-art podcast. As always, I'm actually excited today. We've been talking about this interview for quite a while. You know them, you love them. They've sponsored us a bunch of times. We have Jonathan Howard from Sock Panda on the show. What's up, man?
Yeah, I'm not much. Loving life, designing socks, selling socks. Couldn't be better.
So longtime listeners of our show are familiar with you guys. You've run ads with us several times. It's a sock subscription service. I got it for my daughter. She absolutely loved them. But basically you set up a different plan, and however many pairs you want shows up once a month, and every month it's a different design. You know, I feel like everyone knows subscription boxes by now, right?
Right. And the sock one is, we still, we've grown beyond just the subscription service, but the Sock Panda subscription is still designed by us, mostly manufactured in Peru. Obviously, like last year, we had to explore different places during the pandemic because it was just difficult to get things made and sent in. But so fun, unique socks sent to your door monthly. Different options for the more wild and crazy or to the more conservative style, or both. Which I'm preferable to. I like both.
Are you guys running into any supply chain issues with all those, not trucks, what are those ships that are like stuck there with loaded?
Because of the way I do it, I do a lot of air freight. Okay. So I don't have the same issue. I always have issues with supply chain stuff, I guess. So it's like my big headache, but, sea freight is backed up. And so some of my suppliers, because now that I have a store, are complaining, This thing's been sitting around since early September and they can't get it. So
that's crazy.
Mine's just a headache of doing international business. It can be tough. So as much as I love Peru and the Peruvians and the Peruvian cotton and all that, sometimes the logistics of getting something just picked up is tough. But once it gets going, it goes.
So how did all this start? Like, at what point were you like, yeah, socks, that's where the money's at?
I'm going to
be a millionaire.
I don't think I ever actually said I'm going to make $1 billion doing this. I think it was more of like, I was one of those people who, even when I was in school, I was just not pleased with what I was doing. I was competent. I was good at what I did, but I did a lot of college. And eventually, I had to stop doing college and do something for real. And so I like worked in like finance, and I was miserable. It was like in the beginning, it was like, yeah, I'm getting ahead. And then after a while, I was like, yuck. So after I got vested, I was like, I'm done. So I left, and I played around with different like ideas for businesses for myself, working for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then it really just, at some point you just start thinking, well, socks, in the business place, people aren't wearing ties anymore.
Right.
So it kind of started as like, predominantly for men, business casual look, fun socks, express yourself that way. And, obviously in the beginning, I wasn't designing anything. We were just buying third-party stuff, private label, whatever. And then I learned how to design. I learned how to, partnered with the factory in Peru, and started doing it that way. My whole business model is set up to make people happy and to be happy myself. So I never thought I'd get rich doing this, and I'm not going to get rich doing this unless, I sell out completely or something. This is just too much fun to do.
Yeah. What's funny is like our 2 rules for Inebri-art are very simple. We have to be inclusive, and it has to be fun. Because if it's not fun, why are we wasting our time doing it? Like you said, we're not going to, I don't drive a Rolls Royce, so if it's not fun, why bother? And it's really helped make the choices in life,
Right. And so when somebody asks me, what do you do? I'm proud to tell them about this, whether they're interested or not. I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, socks. So, of course, I run into, it's funny, I say that I run into issues because I'll ask people about socks sometimes, and it's an odd conversation to have with somebody who has no idea where it's coming from.
Yeah.
But it's like, do you like socks? What? Yeah, it's funny. I said it started off for men. I realized right away, and I always like to say this, it was women buying the socks for men in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then slowly it was like 70% women purchasers for 70% men recipients.
Yeah.
Now it's 70% women purchasers for themselves. So totally changed. It's just a really interesting dynamic to me. So.
Yeah, it's, I was just thinking when you're saying how you have strange conversations with people. Do you find yourself trying to explain to people? Like, I find that I spend, I'd say, half my time talking about my business, just trying to explain what it is I do and like how I got here. And people are just like, I just don't get it. And you're like, well, I know it's weird and it's confusing, and we do a bunch of different things. Like, do you have that conversation? Be like, oh, I mail people socks, and they're like, why?
Yeah, right. Or like, and in a way, I used to be this way. It's like, I get my socks at Target, 12 in a bag, and I'm like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But the idea of the sock Panda was like, didn't want to just do the black and white sock thing, wanted some little color and share that with the world.
Now I get the sock Panda reference.
Right. So it is, and it was way fewer people 10 years ago into this. It's a lot more people now, but it's tough for some people to understand. It just, I like to think my prices are low, but you can go places and get a bag of socks for like a few bucks, and that's great. But I'm trying to offer something fun, something exciting.
Right.
So we have a store now, so people can come in and shop too. So
nice. I mean, if you really want, you can go to the dollar store and get socks, but really, how long are those going to last?
And that's great. I mean, to me, it's like, I'm not like, that's the thing too about this. I'm not a sock snob. So it's like, if you're happy with the socks you're wearing, I'm happy. Try us out. I'll even give you a pair for free usually. So
how do you go? Because you said you learned how to design them. How do you go about even starting that process? Like, obviously there's ones that jump to mind. It'll be like, oh, we're going to do Christmas ones, Halloween, the seasonal ones. But like, I think Zoe had one that she loved. And I think it was like a parachuting squirrel. I want to say there was an airplane and a squirrel on it, whether it was parachuting or, I can't remember exactly what the squirrel was doing.
I know I know that one because it was based on Peanuts. It was a Snoopy sort of original concept where Snoopy would dream he was the Red Baron.
Right.
Or the Red Baron was fighting him. And so it was based on him in his doghouse and the Red Baron trying to get him. So we did this, like, obviously I'm not going to steal Snoopy. So I was like, well, the Red Baron could be chasing this, just all of a sudden evolved into a squirrel, water skiing squirrel. It was just,
water skiing. Okay. In my head, I'm like, that doesn't make sense because why would he be in a plane?
Right. And it was just like, and it was like, oh, he's like a secret agent. So we kind of put him in a little little suit, and he's like, So how does it come up? I don't know. The crazy thoughts that come into our minds, I try and throw down on paper, or I look for inspirational images and put them together. And it becomes a sock. I can tell you, when I first started doing this, I would sweat and spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. And when I started to relax on design and just sort of let it come to me, and now it's a question of like, I got too many thoughts, too many things I could put, and I can't make them all. So it's just sort of like confining myself. It's also sometimes I want to let other people kind of do stuff so I can kind of keep it a variety going, because I can get stuck. I can end up doing too many cats, because I love cats, and so I got to let other people throw things in there. But yeah, it's like I see things all the time and I go, oh, that could be a sock. And so, and then I try and, obviously I try not to like just take what I see and put it on sock. I try and use it as inspiration for something else. From there. So the one you brought up, it's my Snoopy days that inspired that.
Do you ever have a conversation and like people, I do this with friends all the time, is someone will say a weird phrase or reference something. Like I remember there was one, we were doing our other podcast and we were talking about prohibition, and there was an old term for bartenders called ordinary keeper, and I'm like, oh, ordinary keepers, that's my folk band. Like, do you have those phrases that pop up in a conversation where you're like, oh shit, I need to write that down because that like triggered a sock idea?
Yeah, I do. I wish I would write them down because I forget 20 minutes later. But it's funny. It's sort of related to what you just said. Someone actually worked here once, when she was describing the socks, said, your socks are ridiculous. And then I don't know what she meant that as, but I went, yeah, they are. That's fine. Like, I'm not, for the most part, trying to do high art, because I'm not pretending I'm that. I'm in some respects a kid with crayon, having a lot of fun and connecting with people on that level. And so I always think of that. It's like when I'm starting to think too much about what I'm doing, it's like I'm just creating something, and I usually don't use the word ridiculous, but ridiculous. I'm creating something really fun that is an expression of joy. And so for some reason, when you mentioned that, that's what I thought of. That one time that one person used that word who didn't mean it in any other way, but I was like, ridiculous. Yeah, it's exactly what I do. So I use that word as kind of motivation to remember I'm not trying to do a Picasso on a sock. I'm trying to create something fun that you could wear many, many, many times and start a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you ever like have that design where you're like, oh, this one's gonna kill, I'm gonna sell thousands of these, and then they just sit, and vice versa? Do you have ones where you're like, man, it's not my best work, and then you're like, why is that one like connecting?
All the time. First of all, I'll say every new sock I design is my favorite sock. So that's the hard thing. But I'm looking on right now on the wall. It was a monkey climbing a ladder, doing a number one, he's going to the moon. Nobody likes it. I love it, but and then there's like, a more subtle, like woman one, like birds on a tree, love birds, and it just sells off the hook. So, okay. But that's the point of me sometimes getting away from myself and letting people help me. Otherwise it would be all monkeys climbing ladders and, cats, doing stuff, which would be maybe not good. I have to change my name, the company name.
Monkeys and cat socks.
And I try to avoid doing pandas all the time, because I'm always like, panda. But I have to do pandas a couple times a year.
You sent us a bunch of socks to give out at some of our events, and and there were ones that had vegetables on. I want to say they're kind of like a beige or an off-white, and they had a bunch of vegetables on them. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. Dude, they were the most popular. They were the first ones
there
gone.
you go.
And I'm like,
Fall
what?
vegetable.
Really? I don't get it. But everyone was like, oh, these are great.
Exactly. And that is one sock that is probably a top seller. And
Really?
I've reordered it. Since I've designed it in my initial order of it, it's been reordered many times. And
so funny.
It's a top seller, and it's my fall vegetable sock. And yeah, but that's it. And I love that sock now.
That sock bought me a new cart now. Do you discontinue styles? Like, is it kind of like a limited time thing, or how do you decide when a sock is done?
Right. So the business models, I design the subscription is the primary business model. So monthly socks. Every month I have new designs. That is one of my headaches, is always making sure I have these made, produced, and in-house for the monthly subscribers. And then I order extra of those to sell. Now, depending on how they go, I will reorder that sock again if I can tell people like it, or I let them go. I used to, in the beginning, I've been doing this a long time, I used to hold on to every one last pair until I had a stack of one last pairs. So I started selling those, or wearing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I decide if it's really popular, people seem to like it, I will reorder it. So there's lots of socks that I'll go through my images and stuff and I'll miss, because I like them. And I wish I had them. And then when I do when I sell the last of something, it is literally a sad moment for me. It's like, I'm excited because I'm selling it, but then I'm like, dang it. I'll never see that one again because I'm probably not reordering it. But yeah.
Is there like a secondary market? Like, I know out here we have Johnny Cupcakes. Well, now Johnny Cupcakes is everywhere, but in some of his t-shirts are so limited that the secondary market, they'll be significantly more expensive. Have you ever like hopped on eBay to be like, fall vegetable sock Panda, and see like what pops up?
People sell my stuff on eBay and Poshmark and places like that, and they charge more. And sometimes they're charging less. I don't know. And I always wonder like who they are.
Yeah.
How they got it. What sock Panda with labels? And I'm like, okay. I used to sell on eBay, and I'd be like, I wonder how that works for them. I'm not on eBay anymore, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, people do that. That's not a big thing that goes on with me. Mainly because I sell the Sock Panda brand on Etsy, on Amazon, and on other marketplaces. So I'm the brand that's there. I leave people alone if they're trying to sell me, but yeah, it's not, people do that, and good. If they can make a buck, go ahead, I guess.
I was just wondering if they were like, die hard Sock Panda collectors. And
no, not that I know of. I mean, really, my diehard Sock Panda collectors are subscribers.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had subscribers for like 7-8 years.
Wow.
And I can't imagine the number, 1-2 pairs a month for that long. I've talked to some of them. Some are salespeople, and they just like the idea of having fresh new socks. Other people just love it. They love the idea of this cool package that arrives every month with the surprise. So,
yeah, my daughter is, and I suppose I've no one to blame but myself. She was, all through her childhood, people would compare her to Punky Brewster. And then like one year I happened to be, I think it was like Walmart or something, and they had the first season of Punky Brewster on DVD, and I'm like, oh, well, I got to get that for her. And I remember her unwrapping it, and she's like, what's this? I'm like, that's Punky Brewster. And she's like, oh, I thought it was about a chicken. And I'm like, what? She thought her whole life growing up, people were comparing her to Punky Rooster. So from that point on, she's never worn matching socks. So like Sock Panda was great for her because then she could kind of like mix and match however she liked. And, she doesn't pair her socks like a normal person. But do you find people kind of like to do that sort of thing? Kind of like,
I don't match my socks.
Yeah.
I am today, I think, but I design left right socks sometimes.
Oh, really?
They
do
go
you sell
together.
them individually? Oh, okay.
No, I'll see. You call me up, I'll sell you anything. You want to buy one sock, you can. Work it out. But I design like left right, like French fries versus broccoli. Like right one is French fries, left one is broccoli, or whatever leg you decide to put it on. But so I'll do that. But I just wear now whatever. Like I'll grab unicorn riding a dolphin on one leg and Frankenstein on the other leg. And just
that's exactly what she does.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that? It's perfect.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Perfectly stupid, and I like it.
Because it's ridiculous, right?
Yes, it's ridiculous.
So do you ever, I want to say there was I'm going to phrase this very specifically because I don't want to like cause any waves, but there was one that was reminiscent of a Dark Lord involved in an intergalactic battle franchise. Wearing a suit.
Oh, you're talking about Darth Vader wearing a
So
it's a Pulp Fiction business suit. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there like, do you do partnerships? Is there like, at what point is it kind of like
I had a partnership back then? And intellectual property and stuff like that can be slippery and tough, and I try to avoid it. And so I try and get licensing when I can, or temporary or permanent sort of products. Honestly, being a smaller business, it's sometimes really tough for me to get those.
Yeah. So I don't want to say anything because I'm like, I don't. The mouse can be litigious.
That one goes back like 5 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a Darth Vader head, the helmet, and the suit was Pulp Fiction.
Right.
And yeah, it flirts on there. I had permission at the time. I think it expired. I still have the sock. I'll take it down if I ever get a letter.
Yeah. But I mean, do you kind of like seek those things out, or do you kind of just like, is it the point where you're like, oh, I want to do Nintendo or Nickelodeon stuff, or is it just like, oh, I have a specific idea? Like, which comes first, I suppose? Is it the licensing or the idea? The
idea is first.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done it. I wanted to do a Cat in the Hat sock for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they won't do licensing on any level. And they're very tough on people who try and flirt with them. And so I just never done it. Obviously I can put a cat in a hat, but
right.
I've left that alone. But the idea is always usually just the first thing. I have what I call a fun puzzle cube sock. It's
puzzle cube. Okay.
It's a Rubik's cube.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah.
I can make the Rubik's cube on the sock because that's not no one owns the right to cubes. So I mean, this is like I can't call it that.
Right. Yeah.
So that was like, I had an idea because I loved Rubik's cube as a kid. It's not a popular sock by any means. I mean, people buy it, but I take it down. I guess if I ever got a letter, I take it down, but it's legally, I'm allowed to do it.
Yeah. Rubik's cubes are so weird, man. Like, we had someone at one of our vendor events recently that customizes Rubik's cubes. So she'd get them and like re-sticker them with like custom artwork and stuff. It was really interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. But for the most part, I avoid the whole area. And I do get that with the store. People come, do you have any of this or that? And I'm like, no, not really. Occasionally I'll buy third-party stuff and legally be allowed to sell it. But in terms of my designs, I try and avoid it. It's just too expensive.
And you said that you have, or you do, a Panda sock a few times a year. Do you, other than the Panda, do you have kind of like, is the squirrel like a recurring character? Like, do you bring creatures back?
There has been, and I haven't done that. I used to have these like two lizards that I'd bring back. They were like originally like like celebration lizards, and there were like sick day lizards on the beach taking a sick day. But I haven't really brought a lot of guys back. In the kids line, characters come back a lot because it was called Panda Pals. And there were a lot of like characters, like a bat character, a panda character, a rooster character, and they would come back yearly, sort of make an appearance, doing something else on the sock.
Nice.
But in terms of the adult one, I guess I get too excited about something new, something just totally new design.
Yeah. And do you have like a favorite season that like really inspires you? Like
I love Halloween.
Yeah.
That's my favorite sock
I feel like
design.
most creative people are like huge Halloween fans.
Yeah, I love designing around Halloween, and it may not be the best selling season per se, but I love it. I mean, there's Medusa, Bad Hair Day Medusa.
Nice.
Like doing her hair, right? I have a Frankenstein sock that is actually the original like concept was a Herman Munster type Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. And so I just love doing it. You're looking at right here. It's a skeleton fireman putting out a haunted house fire.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's my fun time right there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is like Christmas the obvious like big selling time of year?
I do 40% of my business November, December.
Yeah.
That's the go time. I don't do a lot of heavily Christmassy socks. I do winter themes. So I have like such a wide variety of people who are subscribers.
I see.
And the subscription models are tough because
you're part of the war on Christmas, aren't you?
No, I just don't know who's getting my sock. And
that's a good point. Yeah.
When I used to send them out, I get, well, I'm Jewish, I don't want this, or I'm this, and I'm like, okay, you're right. So I'll do like wintry themed, holiday themed, but I try and keep out too Christmassy. And if someone requests something, I'll accommodate in that area.
But it's funny. Like that would have never occurred to me. I'd be in the same point where people be like, I'm Jewish and you sent me Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the main, no war on Christmas. But I do have, thousands of people and a big, it's easier to do what I do than have to send a lot of replacements.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Or have to kind of like keep some sort of spreadsheet tracking like, okay, this person gets Christmas, this gets non-donate, A
lot of them are new customers, and I played with the idea, like, do you want this to be in this box or this not a box, is a package, but and I found like too many like things, asking people too much stuff sometimes keeps them from even like completing the sign up or like, I don't know. I don't like to bother people with emails or questions or like, you want to reach out to me, I will respond. You still today, if you email or call, you're going to end up getting me. So after all these years.
Wow. So you handle all the emails? I mean, that's got to be like a job in and of itself.
Mostly what I do. I've done a lot. Actually, to be honest, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty good. Around the holidays, it becomes a little bit hectic, mainly because once again, most of my purchasers are women, and a lot of them will be older and not as familiar with the online stuff.
Oh, okay.
And so I'll spend a lot of time trying to help them.
Yeah.
And then I customize subscriptions and stuff for them. So,
I mean, when you started this, how long you been running it?
It's 2011 was the first year.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. It's your 10-year anniversary and our 10-year anniversary. That's right. Did you ever expect it to like be as big as it is? And like, what is one bit of advice that you would, jump in the Wayback Machine and be, tell yourself in 2011?
Yeah. I mean, back then, especially since I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but back then it was like, there's so many people who tell you they're experts, who offer you their services, promise you big things. And in the beginning, when you're vulnerable, you're very easily enticed to start paying all these people who are promising all these things. And you find out, even if they are delivering something, the cost of what they're delivering is just way too high. And so maybe in the beginning, it's good to spend money to start something, but learn as much as you can on how to do it yourself, and then streamline that. That's the thing I wish I learned quicker, because I still today, and I'm always nice when people call me and offer me their services, but very hard to, I'm a very hard nut to crack in terms of, because I've been doing this so long.
Right.
I just realized that if I'm going to keep my price at a certain point, keep customers coming in and actually make money, I have to set up a system that makes the most sense to do that. And so I think that's like the biggest thing back then. Good things will happen to a good company because customers will sell you. And so just treat the customer right, err on the side of doing, whatever for them. And then I'll sell your product for you. So,
yeah. I mean, if you don't feel you get enough mail or phone calls or emails, start a business. I mean, you'll get just everything imaginable. You are required to have this form, blah, 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 for $49.95. You're like, that's not a real thing.
It's funny. Well, right now I'm getting crazy. Like, do you need business funding? I'm like, no. Why are you calling? Stop.
Yeah, we'll give you a loan. I'm like, I don't even know who you are.
Like, really? We're Fundio. I'm like, what?
Yeah, Fundio. Is that a real one? Because that sounded real.
That's a real one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that. Yeah, the phone calls. You're right. Woo.
Yeah. But well, you said if you're a good company, good things will happen. And one of the things that I really like about you guys is that you give back. So you kind of do that for every sock subscription, you give a pair of socks kind of thing. Was that from day one? Did that come on later? What made you go down that route?
Right. That was absolutely based on the Tom's Shoes model. 1 for 1.
Yep.
It certainly was it felt like a good thing, and socks are easy to do that with, much easier than other things. We also, at the time, it was like when we were talking, figuring things out, socks are really actually one of the most needed items in like homeless shelters and hospitals and things like that, because everyone will donate all the other items and that's not donated. So there was a need for it. So it was from day one. It grew from 1 for 1 to just the give back program, because we were giving way more than 1 for 1. So just did that, and we've partnered locally. We send internationally, nationally. We do a lot of that, but still mostly locally. I'm actually arranging on email right now to give to a company called the 1736 Family Crisis Center, which is a shelter for women. So I'm excited about that. It goes to families, but it's good. It feels good. It's needed. There's a homeless transitional housing nearby.
Yeah.
So they're on their way up and out, to better. And so it's I love donating to them. Venice Family Clinic out here for healthcare needs. So, and then they don't just get the standard white sock; they get the fun.
That was gonna be my next question. Do you just donate a sock, or do you donate
No, they get a standard sock Panda sock. It's not a special design sock, for them. It's
right.
One of these.
It's what anyone else would get when they go out to their mailbox.
Right. It's the same exact one. Right.
That's gonna be pretty cool to not just get here's a pair of socks, but something bright and colorful and
right.
fun.
And and in different places, if they need more professional ones, we have the stylish and suave style for men, or the patterns and prints, so they don't have to be the crazy thing, so they're more comfortable with it. But yeah, definitely we donate Sock Panda branded socks.
I think that's awesome and a great way to give back, and just kind of be a bigger part of the community.
Yeah, it feels good too. It does to realize that it's an actual need, and to see it, because I put on the Panda suit.
Oh, okay.
I don't do this as often because of the world conditions. Yeah. But I put the Panda suit on and go out and pass out socks and do different events, and it's just amazing fun to see people
that's
and
cool.
give them socks and take a picture and get down like that.
So what's next for Sock Panda? I mean, do you have like some sort of plan? Are you gonna spin off to, I don't know, face masks or, don't do face masks. That was just the first thing that jumped in my head.
No, it's so funny because people would walk in here and be like, "You do masks?" And I was like, "No." I sold masks for a little bit. I got some quality masks and sold them. I wanted to do, and I'm still interested in doing pajamas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. My first design at pajamas turns out was a little bit complicated and would have cost a lot of money to make and sell, which is sort of not what I do.
Yeah.
So I kind of like scrapped it at the time, and I'm trying to figure that out, how to make something kind of really cool, but also affordable. Yeah, I've designed a couple pairs of pajamas. It doesn't necessarily have to be a subscription, but it's something I thought like socks and pajamas would go. I didn't want to do boxers because other people do that.
Right. So the complexity of the design factors into the cost of manufacturing. Like, so do you have to keep in mind like how many colors or like?
It was like, because I had like a panda with bamboo coming up the leg, and like it was a button front, and it was like different art, like, but really cool.
Yeah.
And it turns out when they started quoting me prices, I was like, oh, that's, and not, to do a quality product. I was like, that's a lot of money. And they're like, well, you can do this to cut it down, cut it this. And I was like, okay, let me rethink. Let me just go back to drawing board. And part of it is still, I want to make sure people want it. But I think that's another like niche sort of like cool thing I could do.
But I mean, is that something that you kind of keep in mind while you're designing socks? Is it like, oh, I can only do 4 colors per sock to make it, cost effective, or are you just like?
Oh, well, with socks, it's the yarns, right? Because these are knit. So on socks, I'm always thinking in terms of how many, like it's 7 colors.
Yeah.
It's just these yarn spools that go around a machine and come in, and then it has to do 2. They can change these things out. Depending on where it is on the sock. Mm-hmm. I'm constantly getting in trouble with those guys telling me I got too many colors, but but yeah, that's it. But the cost is the cost for me down there. But with pajamas, it has to do with how it's made. Once I get that settled, once I get like a type of design that goes on a type of pajama, I can kind of like negotiate a price, and then it's how many I'm going to order, which obviously when I first start, I'm not going to order a lot. So, but I think that would be cool. It'd be fun. I think it's a fun, like neat little thing I could do. What was it? Pajamies or something like that.
Pajamies. Nice. Have you, had that experience? I mean, I'm assuming 10 years in business, you must have, where you've seen your socks out in the wild, just someone walking by and be like, hey, I designed that.
Yeah, I have. Actually, I've done a donation of socks. Yeah. And like gone out and saw some homeless guys like walking down wearing my socks. And I was like, yes. But yeah, I see people occasionally wearing my socks out and about, and I don't go up to them and go,
I was going to say, have you ever been like, hey, how do you like those socks? I've been like, fine, you big weirdo.
No, I let them be. But I've seen it a few times and I love it. I always think, is there like a clever way I can go up and do it without like being creepy? Yeah. And I did figure
I don't think there is.
Yeah.
No.
So
that's funny.
I don't.
So obviously our listeners can find you guys at sockpanda.com. I think your ad's still running the beginning. I know your ad's still running at the beginning of this episode. So, they've already been badgered into going to check it out, and they definitely should. Cause, like I said, I love your product. The people we've given them out to love them. My daughter's a big fan. So I just want to say, thank you for coming on the show, man. Like, I know you say you travel out here once in a while. If when you're back out in the Boston area, hit us up. Yeah,
I'm hoping. I've been frightened of taking airplane. Just because I don't know what travel's like. But I haven't. I want to travel. I want to do something. I'd love to come out. So
Yeah, we have a few standing invitations to visit people, California and London and whatnot, and it's just I want to, but not yet. Like maybe next year, maybe next summer, I'll book some travel and
Right.
yeah.
Right. And for your listeners, check out Sock Panda. This is really cool. I make it easy and fun, and once again, the customer service and all the fulfillment and all the stuff come through us. So nothing's outsourced.
Yeah. Oh, and for our listeners who are in California, where is your shop located if they want to stop?
We're in Culver City, Washington Boulevard, near Centinela, near Costco. So Washington and Beethoven, 12839 Washington Boulevard.
All right. So our California listeners can go check that out. And Jonathan, thanks again for swinging in. I'm glad we had power. I was telling you before we got crushed by a storm. We lucked into not having to reschedule. So that worked out perfectly. Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you. It was awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. And thanks for our listeners. We'll see you guys again next week.
And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. So thanks again for listening.